Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I hope that you are all good. In today's video we're going to be doing a salon friendly autumnal acrylic set, finishing off with a gel polish marble. So I really hope you all enjoy watching. Now I'm working on a practice hand and I just have some tips slid in to act as my extended length and my clear base. So if you was doing this on yourself or a client, you could do all of your prep first of all, and then I usually would do a thin clear acrylic base. But because I'm working on the practice hand today, I'm just going to simply come in with my acrylic. So I'm using the beautiful CJP Copper Penny. This has to be one of my favourite autumn acrylics because it's such a beautiful colour. As you can see, it's kind of a dark bronze copper colour, and then it has a beautiful shimmer in there as well, so it makes it super easy to work with. Now I've picked up a medium sized bead. I'm tapping it into place at the cuticle area, and then I'm just walking it down towards the tip of the nail. I'm not worrying if it's not completely covering that tip, as we are going to apply our glitter there anyway. I'm going to do exactly the same on the little finger. So I've picked up a slightly smaller bead because it's a smaller nail bed that I'm working on, and I'm being really careful around that cuticle area. So as you can see, I'm using the very tip of my brush to tap it up into place, but then I'm also using my brush as a barrier to stop that acrylic running on to the cuticle and the side walls. I am ever so slightly tilting the finger downwards as well, just so that product doesn't run back and flood the cuticle area. And again, I've just walked that down towards the tip of the nail, and then I'm blending it out as best as I can. Now this was a smaller bead and it didn't go down and blend out as nice as I wanted it to, and I just didn't want there to be too much of a clear tip underneath my glitter because the glitter I'm working with is quite a chunky mix. So I did just wash a tiny bit more of the copper penny over the tip area. And talking of glitter, this is the glitter I'm going to be using. This is the beautiful chocolate orange from Charlie's Nail Art. It's one of my favourite autumn glitters because I just love the colour, and obviously it works beautiful with the copper penny. Now I do have a discount code for Charlie's Nail Art, which always is left in the description box below. So do check that out because I will also leave all of the links to products there as well. Now I've picked up this glitter using a small bead of the CJP Crystal Glass Acrylic, and then I'm just placing it down at the very tip of the nail, and then I'm keeping my brush quite wet so that I'm able to move those glitter pieces around, tap them into place, and then start creating the fade. So I'm wanting majority of that glitter to be at the very tip of the nail, so that's where I've mainly placed it, and then I'm easily able to push individual pieces back to create the glitter fade. And then I'm just trying to make sure that all of those glitter pieces are lying nice and flat so that there'll be no problems when it comes to encapsulating. And again, I'm going to repeat this step once again on the little finger. So here I've picked up quite a bit of glitter, so it is a little bit trickier to apply, but I will just work with it. So I'm just trying to get it to transfer from my brush to the nail, and then I'm just going to push it around into place. It doesn't matter if you pick up too less, but it can be a little bit tricky if you pick up too much. So ideally less is more, because if you pick up a tiny bead of clear acrylic and just a tiny amount of glitter, you're able to move it around a lot easier, and then if you need more you can come on and tap more glitter on. Where this is a multi-cut glitter mix, although it has got quite a few chunkier pieces in there, it's got the finer pieces in there as well, so it does make it a little bit easier to work with when it does come to getting all the glitter in place and making sure the tip of the nail is full coverage. I'm just tapping on a few more chunky pieces here and there because this tip was quite clear and I wanted to cover that up. I'm then going to leave those glitters to set in place, and I will encapsulate them further along in the video. So moving on to the middle finger, I'm going to be using CJP Fantasy, and for these two nails I just want to build a full nail with the CJP Fantasy. Now Fantasy is a core powder, so it doesn't need to be encapsulated, so I'm going to build all of my strength and structure with this acrylic. So I placed my first bead of acrylic down. It's a kind of small to medium sized bead. I wanted to do this now in a couple of beads rather than going in and doing the one ball or the one bead method, because I haven't done as many acrylic nails lately and I wasn't feeling confident enough to come in with larger beads. So I just worked with more small to medium sized beads. So the first bead of acrylic, I tapped it up into place around that cuticle area and left the bulk of it where I placed it down. Then I've come in with a second bead, blended that into the first bead of acrylic, and then I'm walking this down to the very tip of the nail. You don't want to pull too much of the product off because we are wanting to build up the thickness with this colour. So rather than painting it on, I'm patting and pressing it into place, trying to make sure that that application is even from sidewall to sidewall. Now I'm also using the CJP, the One Monomer, which works brilliantly with their acrylics. Obviously it's been tested to work with their acrylics, so it works amazingly. But I find this particular monomer from CJP the best one for me. I love how it gives you plenty of playtime when you are working with the acrylic, but then it also sets quite quickly when you stop working with it as well. Now my tip was looking a little bit thin and the application was a little bit patchy, so I did just come in with another small bead just to rectify that tip area. So I placed that on directly at the tip and then I'm just very gently blending it back. Here I had a little teeny tiny hair stuck in there, so I just wanted to get that out. Then I'm constantly just running my brush over the nail, making sure it's as even and as neat as I possibly can get the acrylic, because then I'm going to have less finish filing to do. And I personally don't enjoy finish filing on the practice hand, so I try to get the application as neat as possible so that there then is minimal filing to do. Again, onto the ring finger, pretty similar, coming in with a medium-sized bead, just working it into that cuticle area to begin with, getting it as neat as I can. As you can see, I'm tilting the finger downwards. Then I'm leaving the bulk of that product in that back third because that's where we're going to need the most thickness. And then I'm just ever so gently pulling the top of that bead of acrylic and walking that down the nail, smoothing it out to remove any lumps or bumps or unevenness that might be in the acrylic. And then I'm blending it out slightly at the tip just so that my next bead of acrylic will go over the top nicely. Then my next bead of acrylic, I'm placing it directly over the top of the previous bead of acrylic, because then this way it's going to blend in nicely and it's going to make sure you've got no shadowing or patchiness between the two beads. And then I'm doing the similar really, I'm just patting it into place and walking it down to the tip of the nail just to make sure we fully cover this nail. Now this bead was slightly too wet, so that's why it's a little bit trickier to work with compared to the previous beads of acrylic. If you work with CJP, you probably have found that it works a lot better drier. It is a more drier system. And again on this now, I picked up a tiny hair, so I had to get rid of that. And then what I'm doing is I'm just doing my best to smooth out that acrylic. Where I had dug into it, it was a little bit uneven, but I have still got a little bit of play time, so I'm trying to fix that as best as I can before the acrylic fully sets into place. But I can always fix up with my filing as well. Again, I wasn't 100% happy with that tip area, so I just come in with another small bead just to make it ever so slightly thicker, because it did feel a little bit thin and I wanted to make sure I had enough product on so that I could do all of my filing and create a nice shape. So I've only come in with a small amount of acrylic because not a lot was needed. And then this is what the nails look like now we have got all of our coloured acrylic applied. So I'm then going to come in and just encapsulate the pointer and the little finger. So to encapsulate, I'm using CJP Crystal Glass. First of all, I like to run my brush over the nail with some monomer. I just find doing this really helps your clear acrylic go on smoothly, especially when you're working it around chunky glitters. Running your brush over the chunky glitters with the monomer just helps that clear acrylic flow all around the pieces of glitter once you place it down. I do also find that working ever so slightly wetter with the clear acrylic helps get it into place around chunky glitters as well. So my first bead of acrylic, I really am just focusing it on encapsulating the glitters and the tip of the nail. And then that second bead of acrylic, I'm going to build up the rest of my strength and structure and then also encapsulate the rest of that glitter fade. Now, I didn't need to build up too much thickness down at that cuticle and apex area. And that's because Copper Penny from CJP is also a strength powder, and I didn't apply it super thin, so I have applied a little bit of my structure using the Copper Penny. Now if I had only painted this on, I would need to apply a thicker clear layer, but because there are only short to medium length nails, and like I said, Copper Penny is a core powder, or a strength powder, sorry, it doesn't necessarily need to be capped. So the main reason for encapsulating these nails is because we've got that glitter fade there. I'm going to do exactly the same on this nail, so I'm focusing that first bead on encapsulating all of that glitter. If you don't encapsulate all of your glitter, you are going to file it off or file into it when it comes to filing the nail. So do make sure you are fully covering your glitter in the clear acrylic. The easiest way to see if you have fully encapsulated your glitter is it looks matte once it has been encapsulated. So if you see any areas that are still looking shiny, that means your clear acrylic hasn't fully encapsulated. Same again here, I don't need too much bulk or thickness with the clear around the cuticle area, so I'm placing it down and then pulling it over the glitter more. Here I did feel as though the nail looked a little bit too thin, so I just added another small bead just to make sure that there was enough thickness there for my filing. Now this is what the nails looked like once I had done all of the filing and buffing. I did do the filing and buffing off camera as it is tricky on a practice hand. And now they are filed and buffed, I want to come in and create my gel polished marble. Now I'm going to be doing this marble using 3 of the new colours from the new Kiki London Fall 2021 collection. This is an absolutely beautiful collection of 8 gel polishes, so I'm just going to be using 3 of them here. I do also create content for the Kiki London YouTube channel, and I have recently done a swatch video on the new collection, so I will leave a link in the description box below to the Kiki London channel, and I highly would recommend giving that a follow. So I am coming in first of all before doing my marble, and I'm going to be using the Kiki London base coat, and I'm using this to act like a blooming gel. So I'm just going to pop a thin layer of this down onto the nails just to help that marble flow and bloom. And I'm not going to cure this, I'm going to pop my marble straight on to that uncured base coat. So for the marble we have Toffee Break, which is a gorgeous caramel brown colour, perfect for autumn of course. And then we also have Ivory. Now this particular Ivory is more on the yellow side than your classic ivory colour, which I really love for fall. And then I'm also going to be teaming that up with the beautiful Pumpkin Spice. Pumpkin Spice was one of my favourites out of this collection. So I've placed all of those gel polish colours down onto my palette. I'm just checking my brushes before I pop them back in the bottle, just to make sure that I've not picked up or contaminated the brush with any of the previous colours. Then I'm going to take a dotting tool and just swirl through those, creating a marble effect, as you can see there. And then using the Kiki London round nail art brush, I'm going to drag through that marble, picking up the wet gel polish, and I'm just going to float it on to that wet base coat, just very gently moving it around until it flows where I want it to go. You really don't want to play around with it too much because you will lose the marble effect and the colours will mix together a little bit too much. So I'm being very gentle and very careful, just trying to get that into place. And then I'm going to do exactly the same again on the ring finger. So just really carefully floating that down on to the base coat. Now whilst I'm working on this now, the previous now, that gel polish marble will start merging together and blooming into the base coat a little bit more. If you don't want that effect, then you can pop that now into cure first of all before working on your next nail. So just kind of think about the kind of marble effect that you want to go for. I wasn't worried too much if these colours merged together a little bit too much because I wanted quite a soft marble. But if you want a more defined marble, then I would cure it the moment you've got it down on the nail. I had a little bubble here in my marble, so I just wanted to get that out before curing. And then I popped that marble in to cure for 60 seconds, and how gorgeous does it look? I was really pleased with how it turned out. So I'm now going to come over the top and top coat using the CJP Tack Free Top Gloss. Now this was quite a simple set. If you wanted to maybe jazz these up a little bit more, I would pop some stamping over all of the nails, or over just the glitter nails, or just the marble nails, or you could even pop some glitter over them, sorry, some decals over them. You know, something just to add a little bit something extra. I love having layers of nail art, but I wanted to keep these quite simple for today's video. But looking back at them now, I definitely think maybe some swirls would look really pretty, or some leaves would look really pretty stamped over that glitter fade. So once I have finished applying the top coat, I'll pop these in to cure for 60 seconds. And then I have left a little clip at the end showing you guys the finished result, as well as a picture. So I really hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, then please do give it a thumbs up or leave me a comment below. Autumn nails are my absolute favorite nails to do, so I'm really hoping to get some more videos up on my channel. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you're all keeping safe and well and enjoying the autumn season if you're here in the UK. Once again, thanks for watching. Lots of love. Bye bye.